Hey, what's up, guys? This is Big Russ with Road Trip and RC, and we are finishing up the chassis today. So, off camera, I got the electronics installed, I got the motor and transmission installed. It's very straightforward. If you're building this kit using a donor truck, you don't have to disconnect anything from your center skid. Just literally unbolt the skid from the chassis, pull it out, slap it in this, and you don't have to fight with anything. The rear is straightforward to get the axles in. I've got to assemble the links. I've got to swap over the springs on the shocks. And I've got to make this and this fit. So, wow. I don't know. Okay, it might work. We'll figure it out. So, with the MB18, you cannot utilize the stand-up, the vertical servo mount. You have to go to a lay-down mount. The lay-down mount is very popular, and it also helps balance the weight a little better. It doesn't rock as much. But we have to cut off these 3 tabs. So I'm going to get the camera flipped around. We'll get that installed. And yeah, we'll get this chassis put together. Bear with me. All right, so off camera, I trimmed down the front axle. I added some grease just to the plastic gears. I didn't change out the bushings, so I'm not running bearings. I did just put a little Traxxas grease that came with my TRX4 kit, just to have some sort of lubrication in there. I also built the links and put the lay-down servo on. Now, the benefit of this, and I'm not even sure which way the factory servo is supposed to sit, but it basically just brings the weight down and gives us a place that we can easily mount the servo in relation to the rest of the chassis. The great thing with that, if you want to put a little bit stronger servo in, or a heavier servo, instead of it, where's the servo box? I just had it. The factory servo stands straight up, and it's not very conducive to performance. It literally is held together on this axle by two pins, and then the bolt that holds the upper links. That's it. So it rocks back and forth when it turns. This is much more solid. It mounts down to the diff cover, and they do include longer bolts for it. So when it goes to turn, if you put a stronger servo on, you should not have issues with torque twist on it. And yeah, I'm just using the stock servo. It works. Will it be stable enough for the wheels going on it? Probably not. Again, this isn't going to be a roller. Now, setting up everything, you got to make sure that your mounts are going the correct way. So that everything lines up with the skid, right? See how that's kicked out? Now these do have offset end caps. So now that should bring it in to where I need it to be. And since we're here, we're going to go ahead and put the shock on because we need to. Man, how good does that look? Like, that is just... I'm not putting oil in these. I might later on. This isn't going to be a crawler. This isn't anything that really needs an excess amount of anything. And let me double check something. All right. I've got to find my upper links. And I'll be right back. All right. So I accidentally put my rear lowers on the front because I didn't pay attention. So, just like that. And then it's just wiggling it back into place. And the great thing with this, it's just one bolt or one long screw. Once it's in, it's in. That's it. So my uppers are done. The lowers, yeah, just wiggle it in. Get my other shock. All right. Kind of just hold it there. Press it in and then tighten it down. So this is done. The rear is even easier because you don't have a servo in the way. You don't have steering linkages in the way. As long as you have your wheel and tires off, changing out your links is one of the biggest and best changes you can make to these rigs. So I'm going to get this rear set up off camera. and we'll be right back to show you the finished results of the octopi. All right, so with the rear, you need to pay attention to which way you put the bolt in. This fat side has threads, so your bolt goes through the skinny side, or your screw, okay? That way, when everything's together, you have this, okay? Now, the hardest part of installing this is actually going to be the drive shaft. You have to make sure it is in phase. What do we mean by in phase? You see the screw head? We need to try to line it up with the screw head on the transmission side. Now, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm going to try to anyway. Take this off so I have some kind of leverage. All right. All right. So I've got a wheel on the axle. I have some way to put leverage on this. Because once I line this up, or get this side where I can see the screw head, it doesn't matter. Because I can pull the drive shaft off. Which I'm not seeing it. Again, doesn't really matter because I'm not utilizing this as a crawler. This is going to be more of a showpiece. I'm going to have vibration in my drive line. So to install your rear setup, it's super simple, and I probably used the wrong size screws for this. It's probably a slightly shorter one. It is actually a slightly shorter one because it was rubbing my drive shaft some. But your upper links go on the outside here. Okay, and then your lowers go up here. All right. Come on. And you're gonna struggle with this, guys. Like I'm. Would it be easier to do the links first and then the axle? Maybe. All right, so I'm gonna have to find the correct length hardware for that, but not a big deal. For the lower links, they just drop in, and I may have. So this is not good. So I've got to do a little digging. I may actually I do have these backwards. No, they're not backwards. They're just wrong. So I will catch you guys back in a minute. All right, so I've been fighting with this off camera. I got the rear links installed and discovered I need new drive shafts because mine are too short. Trying to get everything where it belongs is part of the joy of building. And as you can see, it's not always gonna go the way you hope it goes. So let's find the appropriate screw. Where's my shot bag? All right. So with this kit, it utilizes these shock towers that you must use spacers with. And the spacers aren't anything crazy. It's just this little brass bushing that goes between the shock and the tower. So you just kind of swing it into place. And for this setup, I'm going to go ahead all the way back and all the way up. Do I have the right size driver for this? Yeah. It's probably in the car. Not even going to lie. It's probably in the car. So, you kind of just get them all in place. It's not... This is probably the easiest process, aside from constantly dropping the spacer. That spacer, it's just kind of a pain in the ass. You know what? That fits. We're going to use it. All right, so you can see. All right. So that one's in. Let's untangle my wiring. I've got to replace the drive shafts, which will be next week's video. I will route my wiring better. I promise. I'm not going to leave it sloppy. The hardest part with this is always going to be getting your screws lined up so you can put them in where you need them in. My best advice, just take your time. I know this screw is too long, and that's fine for now, but my rear suspension is done. I'm going to go ahead and try to get the front in and do a little something here. And let's see if I can show you guys. So my rear drive shaft is literally like that much too short. My front is going to be even worse. So I'm going to cut to the front done and we'll go from there. Alright, so I got the front suspension in. I've got to do something with my servo. Obviously, I've probably got it mounted backwards. I've got my rear end. And there's travel, but there's not a lot of flex. And that's okay, because this isn't being built to be a crawler. As you can see, kind of detailed up the interior a little bit, painted the guys. They ain't perfect, and I don't want them to be perfect. Ready for the big reveal for this week? SKP Engineering tracks. I told you guys in the last video that I've gotten a really good deal on these. They are 3D printed. At the time of recording this, FMS put their tracks on sale for like $60 for a full set of 4. Obviously, didn't need it. Didn't want it. I'd rather support, small guy doing something cool like this. And here's where you're going to understand why I said I'm not building a crawler. Where's my T-wrench? Pop this off. So, comes with these little spacer deals. It does come with some spare parts, but to install them, you literally just slap them on. Okay. I'm going to have to find some stock hexes. These are just a little too wide. That's fine, because I do have some readily available. But yeah, these things are super sweet. They are 3D printed. The guy's based out of Indiana. It took less than a week to get them. I don't know if he just keeps them on the shelf or what, but throw the stock hex back on. Line everything up. Put that on here so I don't lose it, because losing a pin sucks. And then there we go. There. You got to make sure it's fully seated. It's weird. So we'll flip it over, get the other side done, and I will show you guys the beauties. Alright, so I'm outside to get the beauty shots of this, and I kind of don't want to put a body on it now. Let's check this thing out. So, I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the LEDs on top. I do love that orange glow on the front. The very military-esque wheels. The tracks in the back. Oh. You know what? Bam! Doesn't that just look sweet? Obviously, my crappily painted guys are hard to see, and that's fine. Because, obviously, they're supposed to look dirty, dusty. Because this is going to look weathered and beat up. Man! Oh man, I can't wait to show this off, and I gotta wait. Alright guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this week. Next week is all the final touches. All the paint work, accessories, all of that is coming up. I'm done spending money on this. I've gotten everything I want, minus like one or two things that I would like to do. I may have to put oil in the shocks because it sits fully compressed. I mean, that's full droop. I am waiting on my drive shafts to come in. They were like $15 because the ones I'd ordered don't fit. They're too short. The front is fine. The front fits perfect. The rear, it's like 2-3 millimeters too short. So under articulation, it just pops out. So I'm gonna leave you guys here. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Stay safe. I love you.